right, welcome on in to the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Charlie Turner here, along with Chris DiCarlo and John Ristino. Gentlemen, we're right here on November the 12th of Veterans Day weekend as we salute the troops that have served for this great country. We, give them all our love and respect for the service they've done for this country that provides us our freedom each and every day. So, gentlemen, it's a little cool here in Western New York, so we're not going to be doing any grilling and hanging out for this long weekend, but we're going to be indoors here doing a podcast as we always do each and every Saturday here on Falls Count Anywhere. And we have a great guest with us joining us today. This man spent a long time in wrestling and also in the boxing industry as well, in photography and other areas of the business. He also has a current book out at this point called When It Was, My Life on Both Sides of the Camera. And he is our guest today. He is Mr. Scott Romer. Scott, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, sir.
I'm so excited. I'm interrupting you. I apologize. But I am excited to be on this show. I've watched your podcast. You guys are true professionals. And I was waiting for the time for you guys to invite me to join your cast on this show. So thank you very much.
No, thank
we
you.
appreciate that, sir. Absolutely.
We appreciate the referral from our good friend Adam Parsons from the Wrestling Legends Network too, as well.
He's a great guy, and he and his dad have a great concept of trying to get all the footage of different wrestling territories, and they're playing it on. Is it Roku or what are they? Whatever.
They're on all the platforms, but I have them on Roku, and I'm excited to see that Mid-American territory stuff too.
Well, I have nothing but respect for the two of them, Adam and his father. Such nice people. They brought me and Rip into West Virginia for a show about a year and a half ago. So I'm very familiar with the two of them, and you guys are dealing with true professionals when you're dealing with them. You also said you had Rip Rogers on a few weeks ago, and during the 90s, I managed Rip Rogers at Circle City Wrestling and other independent organizations. Rip and I go back nearly 40 years when he started working for Dick the Bruiser. Actually, it's been closer to 45. And I hadn't seen him for a while. And one time I was shooting not Dr. Graham, but Eddie Graham's territory in Tampa, Florida. They had a gym at their venue, and I was working out, and in comes Rip Rogers. What are you doing here, Romer? So how cool is that when you're in your 20s and you're in a different state and somebody knows who you are? So we've been friends for nearly 45 years.
That's awesome. And, I guess, Scott, my first question is, how did you get involved in the crazy world of wrestling? I mean, I know you did it as a photographer, but it's always, I find the most interesting from a lot of our guests were that initial foot in the door. There's always like maybe a crazy story or somebody that maybe potentially influenced you to get into wrestling. How exactly did you get started with the wrestling business?
Well, I always had a fascination for wrestling. I think it was the first time turning on a television and seeing two guys yelling at each other, they're going to be doing this and that, and then going on the school playground and one of the kids coming up to me, my dad could beat your dad up, or I'm tougher than you and we're going to beat the crap out of you, and so when I first heard that on TV, it rang such a bell. I fell in love with it. I started going to wrestling shows in the 60s. My grandfather, Tommy Gould, would take me to the shows, recommended by a psychologist because I was hyperactive, and it was a way for me to use up my energy. And I would bring a 104 Kodak Instamatic camera. That was a cheap little $15 camera with the flash cubes, and run up and photograph the matches.
Oh yeah.
I'd be thrown out by the cops. I'd sneak around to the other side, and the pictures really weren't that bad. Then my grandfather stopped taking me, so a few years I didn't go to a show for a few years. And then David McLean, creator of Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow, and
Yes.
who I is from Indianapolis. We went to the same grade school. It was a private school by the name of Orchard. We started going to wrestling shows together, and he was doing the same thing. And I was taking pictures again, entered them at my high school as a freshman, entered 2 photos in their first annual Brebeuf photo contest, and the 2 pictures out of about 100 that were entered won first place in color and grand prize for the black and white. And my color
Awesome.
picture was published on the front of Wrestling Guide magazine in the early 70s.
That's awesome.
And that got the attention of Dick the Bruiser and Sam Miniker, and they put that picture on TV. We also at school at Orchard in the 8th grade, we promoted our own wrestling show and had the students going back to 1st grade all the way up to the 5th grade as the spectators. And we invited Dick the Bruiser, but he sent Sam Miniker instead. And that whole story is in my book. And from there, it sort of escalated to going to every show, taking pictures, and selling to the fans. After about a year of David and I selling pictures, I got a message from one of the head cops. His name was Cecil Madalena. He was Dick the Bruiser's personal cop. And he said, Dick the Bruiser wants to see you right now. Up. So I was escorted upstairs, which the outside people weren't allowed. And I saw all the wrestlers gathered in different rooms, and Bruiser and Snyder had their own dressing room, and they knocked on the door and sent me to Dick, and he said, I hear you're selling pictures. And I was nervous. I thought he'd throw me out or whatever. And he said, they're pretty good, but we're not getting any money out of it. From now on, we're partners. You can sell them as long as I get 20%. So each match, after each show, and after every wrestler got paid, and take it, we were sitting in the dressing room and the waiting room with plenty of beer with all the other wrestlers. We were the last ones called into Bruiser and Snyder's dressing room, where we handed over our 20%, but we also got to sit there the whole time and talk to Dick and Wilbur. Were in awe. They were drinking, Dick drank his Japanese beer, and we were able to get the Falstaff, which was the beer given to all the workers at the time. And Bruiser and Snyder really didn't give a shit if the guy had a family they were waiting for. Sometimes they would have to wait 2-3 hours to get their paycheck. And there were times we left with Dick the Bruiser and Wilbur Snyder, and it was past 2 a.m.
Wow. Mr. Romer,
Wow.
speaking of, I got a question for you about Mr. Rip Rogers here. I know we all, common respect thing, right, Mr. Romer? And our friend, speaking of Florida territory, his father, the great Gordon Soley, a friend of the show, and if we had on Mr. Gennard Soley, is a good friend of ours. But question to you, Mr. Romer, first about Mr. Rip Rogers. Was he, you said, was he WWA before he was ICW?
When he first started, he was promoting, he went against Dick the Bruiser and Snyder, which was very taboo, and started running shows with Johnny Starr, and who was a manager in the WWA. He managed Ox Baker in the early 70s. They decided to form a team, and he was wrestling for Bruiser until he went opposition and started doing shows. But we had a very strict commission who would make it very difficult for outsiders to come in and run shows. But he went opposition, and then left and started traveling around the world So he wasn't just stuck in Dick the Bruiser's territory. He very quickly got the hang of it and started getting bookings, and didn't really wrestle for Bruiser after the late 70s.
Okay.
Wow.
Charlie?
Well, and you mentioned Ox Baker, who I always thought had like one of the best looks in wrestling, just an intimidating type of look to him. Was there anybody that you first met that you were just kind of just intimidated by just from their presence?
Well, I think being in the dressing room, I was in awe with everybody from the preliminaries to the main eventers. But I was a source to get their pictures in the magazines. So I never really had any problems with any wrestler. In my Gong Wrestling magazine days, that's the Japanese wrestling magazine that I worked for years, when I would start working these territories and things were new. You had Georgia Championship Wrestling, St. Louis Wrestling Club. I would get the names and addresses of all the wrestlers and send them into Japan, along with the film. And wrestlers were getting booked. So that got around that Romer was cool. Everybody wanted me to hang with them during that time, kiss my ass. I didn't really realize the impact that I had. Getting those numbers got a lot of wrestlers booked in Japan. Another thing that I failed to mention in my book is, and I had just thought about this, I used to, just like the wrestlers, I had girlfriends in every territory, and they would pick me up and drive me to the shows, and afterwards we'd go back to their place, and I always had leftover film, and I'd take nudies of them. So I sent the film unprocessed to Japan, and here's the pictures, and they're looking at this was film at the time, not digital, and they're looking at it, and then you've got nudies at the end, several different women, so they kept booking me. That was my way into getting bookings in nearly every major territory, including Stampede Wrestling and Charlotte and all the other places that I was able to travel to.
Awesome. You mentioned you talk about Japan a lot. Guys, sounds like the show I missed, but we had Mr. Mike Lano, who Mr. Romer knows as well,
yes,
over the territories and out of LA.
He's a legend photographer, and at one point he was the top photographer for Cauliflower Alley Club, and once Nick Bockwinkel left, everybody started being the official photographer. I was also brought in as one of the official photographers. I don't think Mike really appreciated, he was started from the beginning, and then all of a sudden everybody is the official photographer with a badge that said official photographer. But I don't care. I enjoy being in the sport. Anything I could do to help the business out. If they want to give everybody an official photographer's badge, I'm okay with it. But Mike got a little upset over that, and he hasn't been to the CAC for a couple of years.
Yeah, we just had Mr. Brian Blair on, and he wants us to buy his book as well, and we're going to buy yours.
I'm sorry, who?
Mr. Brian Blair.
Oh, absolutely, Brian.
And yeah, I joined Cauliflower Alley. The $27 one. I'm not rich or anything, but it's a good cause.
So you were paying by the year, I guess, yes, rather than the lifetime membership. And I recently became a lifetime member, and I will always stand behind CAC. Like I said, I get my pictures published. I get respect at CAC, so everywhere else I get no respect. I'm like Roger Dangerfield, but CAC I get respect. So I'll be going there as long as I'm able. And I forgot to mention that I was photographing Rip Rogers' 50-year high school reunion in Seymour, Indiana, when I collapsed from a stroke.
Oh, jeez.
and I was in the hospital for a couple weeks, and then in hospital rehab for a couple weeks. So I was out for about a month. This was in August, and
Wow.
through the grace of God, I'm here,
Oh, wow.
and my throat had clogged up for over a month. For 2 months, I wasn't able to eat anything. And it started opening up, so I'm able to eat,
wow.
and it's like better than heroin. I'm eating, like, I gained all my weight back. I had dropped 25 pounds, and now I'm gaining it back, and
Wow.
getting
Wow.
back on my feet. I'm not 100% by any means, but Rip was right there, going from the reunion to leaving early to visit me in the hospital, make sure I was taken care of. So it's good to have Rip as a roommate. So in case he finds me half dead, he could call the ambulance and I could be saved.
Oh man. Well,
Oh my God.
yeah. I mean, glad the recovery is going well for you, sir. Because yeah, that's, and, some of the things you might take for granted, like eating, and then all of a sudden when you can't, and then you get that feeling back where you can, it had to feel like $1 million, huh?
Well, I thought my life was over with. I was also on a catheter as well.
Oh.
And
Oh wow.
what we have a boxing. I'm involved in boxing as well. Been all over the world, probably more travel in boxing than I have wrestling. So every week we have a Thursday boxing lunch. Gold medalist Sugar Ray Seals, 1972 gold medalist Sugar Ray Seals, is a regular Thursday boxing lunch, along with the promoter that I worked with and a few other fighters. And I was thinking that this was going to be over with. And all of a sudden, I had a little opening in my throat, and I was able to eat food. So I'm back joining them and enjoying myself.
Good. Yes, I did.
Oh,
I
that's
did
awesome
hear
to
that.
hear.
I did hear that happened to you, and we are praying for you, and we're glad that you're with us today, sir.
Thank you very much.
John, he mentioned
Absolutely.
John, he mentioned the first WrestleMania, WWF WrestleMania, Madison Square Garden, 1985. I'm sure John is loving that.
No, my question is, how much, I don't know, this was something that struck me back then, was the War to Settle the Score that went on MTV. Do you remember, were you part of that? Did you have anything to do with that stuff? Because that was incredible.
What was it?
It was called the War to No, was that what it was called? It was a rock and wrestling thing. It was MTV.
Oh, I saw that. I had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
So I did shoot shows with Cyndi Lauper and David Wolf, the manager. I was just, I shot for Japan.
Right.
That was my only outside source. I was the only one they allowed, other than their own guy, up at the ring to shoot with them. So my stuff was super hot. But as far as any TV production by them, I really didn't have a lot to do, other than the fact that occasionally, if you look at old tapes, you might see me in the background taking pictures up at the ring.
Cool.
In fact, yeah.
So Scott, one of the things I'm curious about is, one of the things I'm curious about is because you spent time in wrestling and boxing. See, like we grew up, myself, John, and Chris, during when boxing was in the 90s with Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield and Don King and those characters, and
right.
That was a crazy time for boxing. That
was during my peak years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and was it equally as crazy as wrestling, or were they kind of similar in some ways with some of the characters that you were interacting with?
In wrestling and boxing, you had very powerful people, that were connected. And so I became friends with a lot of connected people, if you know what I mean. And through wrestling and boxing, through my connections, I was able to get gigs flying all over the United States and world in boxing and wrestling, but working with presidents and prime ministers, chief justices, lots of actors and actresses. So you'll see the top tier actors and actresses in my book: Robert Downey Jr., Anne Hathaway, Kirk Douglas. I was able to rub elbows with a lot of powerful people in Hollywood, and they were inviting me to attend and be a photographer for their organizations. One of them being the Ellis Island Medals of Honor, the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame, the National Italian American Foundation.
Wow.
And I'm Jewish, so does it make sense that a Jewish person is shooting these organizations when they could be using their own person? But again, my pictures are published in their magazines, their programs and stuff, which go out to a lot of people. So my name has become kind of synonymous with the Italian organizations.
And some famous concerts too.
So
I
you're
understand
connected in that way.
I've got a picture. I was doing a lot. In fact, one of the inspirations of writing my book was Carlo, the wife-beating brother-in-law of in The Godfather.
Mm.
And The Godfather.
Yeah, right.
Gianni
name,
Russo. Gianni Russo is his name, and he's the author of a book called The Hollywood Godfather is the name of the book. And he actually had a hit put on him by Escobar for killing one of his soldiers who came after him at his bar in Las Vegas with a broken bottle, and he shot him dead. And Escobar put a hit out on him. So he's a real life mafia and a friend of mine. I had Cha-Cha. I can't recall his last name, but he was my best man at my wedding. He was a soprano, and also
cool.
Called the official mayor of Little Italy. So
Cool.
George Randazzo was one of the fathers that I speak about in my book. I consider 4 people my father because I had a father that was very abusive to me. So I sort of found my own role models, one being George Randazzo, who was on the board of directors of all those organizations and president of the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame. There was Fred Burns, the boxing promoter, who I have lunch with every week and shared an office with him. There was Dick the Bruiser, my father-in-law. I married his daughter. And there was Sam Miniker, who was Dick the Bruiser's ring announcer. They're all listed as my self-adopted fathers that helped form me the way I am.
Cool.
Get me the gigs, and I went from there to shooting, stardom events.
Wow.
Yeah, Mr. Romer.
Well, so Dick the Bruiser is your father-in-law, you said?
It was my father-in-law. That story is in my book as well. My wife, my former wife, Spike Huber. She was married to Spike Huber. Does anybody remember him?
Yes, I do. I know him.
Spike worked early WWF, not early WWF, but early Invasion WWF, teaming with B. Brian Blair.
84.
That was his thing. He had left Michelle. I started dating her. We married. Great girl, but she had a spending problem. I couldn't afford her. I left. She married. Shortly after that, she married a gentleman by the name of the Golden Lion. That's his wrestling name, Tim Riplogo. Now he wrestles under the name of Dick the Bruiser Jr. He was going in debt with her after about 5 years of marriage. So he ran a wrestling show. He's the promoter. He's been doing it for a long time, so he's experienced and a great guy. but he ran a wrestling show, brought me and Spike in hopes of one of us taking, reforming our bond with Michelle, our Spike Huber and my ex-wife, and Spike. We were a tag team called the Husbands. Michelle escorted us to the ring with the Bruiser dog. It was a bulldog that chased guys around the ring. And me and Bruiser Jr., he was wrestling Bruiser Jr. got temporarily knocked out, and Spike carried her out of the ring, and they never came back again. They married shortly after, so it's their second marriage together, and this happened well over 20 years ago, and they've been happily ever after. So good for them. He found love, and she would have been a great wife, but again, there was I'm in the wrestling and boxing business, living on beer money, and she lived very high on the totem pole, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Mr. Romer, I
The
wanted to
Husbands.
ask
I love
you,
that tag team. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, also, you've been to a lot of concerts all over the world and country. I saw Mr. Lionel Richie in concert here at the Seneca Niagara Casino. What a show.
Where did you get the idea that I went to a lot of concerts? Because I didn't.
Oh, I thought you filmed a lot of them.
No, I went to, I've been to several, on and off, but it's nowhere published that I've been to a lot of concerts. Now, there is a picture of me and Molly Hatchet and David Von Erich, Hercules Hernandez, and a few other wrestlers in a big group picture. Molly Hatchet was playing at one side of the Kiel Auditorium while wrestling was on the other.
Oh, wow.
So
that's cool.
We all ended up partying together. So that picture's in my book, but I did not shoot a whole heck of a lot of concerts.
Okay, my bad. Sorry, sir.
That's okay. I just want to be honest and not sugarcoat anything.
Right.
My book is a shoot that appears to be a work, but everything is a shoot in my book.
I also wanted to ask you.
Your book is available on Amazon, is that correct?
It is available on Amazon, and I'll tell you what, for any reader, for any viewer of your podcast, if they order my book through me, let them go to Messenger on Facebook and give me their contact information. I will autograph the book personally and pay for the shipping. So you get an autographed copy with me for the same price you would get one at Amazon. Nice. If you've got Amazon Prime and free shipping. So all they got to do is just mention your podcast, and I'll then pay me the $20 through Zelle or PayPal, and I will throw in the shipping and send it to them immediately, autographed.
Oh, cool. And then I'll do it.
By the way,
do it that way.
This is my book.
There it is.
Awesome. It is. And I changed the cover. There's new stories. This is the second edition. And John Cosper, bless his heart, took the time and recorded everything that I had to say and made sense of the words that I had put in the book. And we changed the cover. Slam did a interview, and it was probably their longest by word review of a book that they've ever done, but they absolutely loved it. And then there was one of the producers of The Wrestler movie. Why can't I remember his name? But he wrote another favorable review on my book. So it's an interesting read. It's not just about wrestling, but it's about how I got involved working with the mob, and also and you had brought it up before we went live, the Onita stabbing angle.
Yes.
With Jose Gonzalez, how it was sort of manipulated into taking these photographs of a fake stabbing that appeared to look real, that appeared on the front page of the Japanese evening news, outraging the entire country, blaming Jose Gonzalez for trying to kill Onita, and that was orchestrated by Onita. We had actually done a contract signing. Onita flew me into Puerto Rico. We did a work contract signing with Jose Gonzalez. Jose was under the impression he was going to wrestle in Japan for big bucks, but they did the stabbing angle after we took the work pictures of the contract signing and the Puerto Rican wrestlers beating Onita up, Onita gigging. Then everybody left the studio, left the building completely. That's when Onita took a razor blade and was cutting into his stomach and having me take pictures as though he had been stabbed. They took my film immediately. Jimmy Suzuki, one of my agents, took my film and flew out to Miami to Federal Express them to Japan for the next day being published on the front page of the newspaper as though it was a shoot, and photos by Scott Romer, so I was involved. And the intention of that was, should Jose Gonzalez go to Japan, they were going to make him disappear one way or another. And I was used as a patsy to not knowing how the seriousness of the photo shoot. And it really caught me off guard when I walked into the building and saw Jose Gonzalez. I grabbed Onita. I'm the outsider, so I grabbed his suitcase and leave the limousine and walk into the building before him, and that's when Jose was waiting for him.
Wow. Speaking of which, I know we want to dab a little bit until you said of course, we all know of the unfortunate, brutal passing of one of the greats in the business, Mr. Bruiser Brody, and tell us about that if you can.
Well, Frank was a good friend of mine, and he knew, since I worked with the Japanese magazine, he treated me extra good because I was one of the Japanese boys. And we would go out to different, after his matches, we would go out to different bars and things like that and just hang, shoot the shit. He would tell me about the injustices of the situation. Vern Gagne didn't pay me enough. Fuck him, blah, blah, blah. And we became good friends. And I'm very good friends with his wife, Barbara, as well, through Cauliflower Alley Club, and Brody had introduced me to her in the 80s when I was shooting on the same show that he was appearing on. Yeah.
Also, we're friends with, we mentioned Gennard Soley. It has to do with Waterloo, Iowa, and the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame there, and they have their convention every year as well, sir.
Well, remind me, because I want to go to one of those. The one in Iowa, I haven't supported them, and I should. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's like the end of July, but as soon as I know, I will inbox you and let you know, sir, for sure.
Please, yeah, it's not that far of a drive, and I neglected to go to that and support them, and I should. I just, I shoot the CAC, and then a few months later is the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. And
yeah, what
into that.
Waterloo, Iowa. They wanted us to go this past year, but we just couldn't go. Be a 12-hour drive from Niagara Falls, New York.
A little far, yeah, a little far of a drive. Yeah,
but maybe next year.
There's no airports around there either.
At last year's CAC, so many people got COVID, and several people died. The belt maker, what was his name? The older belt maker.
Reggie Parks.
Reggie Parks died. I was sitting in between him and Charlie Smith, showing
Oh,
both
man.
of them my book, and they both ended up dying.
Oh,
And
Wow.
one of the Glow women was sitting at my
Jeez.
table, and she ended up getting COVID. There was another gentleman that died. They found him a promoter. Starts with a C. Can't remember his name offhand, but they found Sabu found him decomposing in his hotel room. I mean, in his condo, because nobody had seen him. He died of AIDS. So Carl Lawler. I'm sorry, not AIDS. God, my fault. He
COVID.
died of COVID, and Carl Lawler got sick and died of it. So and this one great big guy, this 400-pounder, died. So 5 or 6 people died that year. Thank God I had my COVID shots, and may they all
Wow.
rest in
Yeah.
peace. Well,
Yeah, it's just crazy this day and age. You know, I've been a fan since 1980. I mentioned to you, I'm 47 years old, and we're about the same age, the three of us, and it's just a crazy world. We'd like to go back to the 80s.
well, I'm 63, almost 64, and you talk about going back, with these tales from the territories and the dark
Yeah,
side of
love
the
it.
ring
Yeah.
documentaries, which I thoroughly love. It's like reviewing my life over again. I worked, in world-class championship wrestling, actually shot David Von Erich's funeral, which is in my book. And so I'm watching these events that take place that I was actually a part of, so it's like watching your life twice,
Right.
so
Yeah.
fucking
That's
up
very
my
cool.
life twice. Yeah. Wasting
Speaking
my
of
It's not wasting. These are nothing but very fond memories that I have that I'm able to relive.
Speaking real quick, speaking of world class, and then into the GWF, we talked off camera, but we had Mr. James Beard on, and Mr. Doyle King was on the show of ours here, and they're great guys.
I don't know Doyle, but I know James Beard, and I photographed many matches in Dallas when he was much younger. I look at these old tapes and I realize where has time gone, and now I'm a senior citizen. So James is still active. I mean, he's in his 70s, still refereeing, and I can't imagine the shape that he really must be in to be able to do that. The stroke
Yeah.
put me down pretty much, so I get tired easily. And for him to be maybe 6 or 7 years, 8 or 9, 10 years older than me, and be able to work match after match, I have a lot of admiration for him to be able to do that.
Another one, real quick. Up in age there, but he wrestles every Saturday. We had on the show, Mr. Romer, Chief Jay Eagle.
Chief Jay Eagle. I don't know the gentleman. I don't think I've ever met him unless he went under a different name at one time or another. But how old is he?
Guys, do you remember?
Gee, I think he's in his 60s, he said. I think that it was in his 60s, close to
That's not so
70.
bad.
Still actively wrestling, which was kind of impressive. Yeah.
You've got Mike Jackson, who's in his mid 70s, who still can out wrestle most everybody. You've got Chick Donovan. He still wrestles. He's in his upper 70s now. I would run into him at a lot of different shows. I think I ran into him at Puerto Rico as well as World Class and other territories. And then, then nearly 40 years later, I ran into him at one of Heroes and Legends, I think it was. I've been working with Bobby Fulton and his son Dylan. They have the Big Time Wrestling, which they have a whole plethora of former stars in wrestling. So it's always good to catch up with these old stars that some don't remember me, some do. And Thank you, Dylan and Bobby, for keeping wrestling alive in your area for me to photograph. Rip and I will go to the shows together, so we have a good time. We've got sponsors that pay for our gas and buy us a table, and so we both sell our book we usually get one of the wrestlers, younger wrestlers or promoters, to drive with us. So we're telling our stories just like I used to listen to the stories when I was in the back seat. We have people listening to our stories, every word, trying to trying to savor every moment of what we're talking about. And Rip and I love to talk about the history of pro wrestling and the old stuff.
Yes, indeed. In fact, there's a NWA pay-per-view tonight, and they're kind of trying to go back old school, which I love.
Well, bless the NWA's heart. They've been trying to go back to old school for the last nearly 20 years. Bruce Tharp is a friend of mine who purchased the NWA. And excuse me, that's part of the stroke. You've got
take your time, sir.
The musician with what's his name? That owns it now.
Billy Corgan.
Billy, yeah, right. We only hope that they could bring it to a fraction of what it used to be. And I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I don't think it's recognized as much as it was back in the day.
Right.
I think there's trouble with Nick.
Well, Scott, we'd love to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir. Finish your thought there. I'm sorry.
Wasn't there problems with Nick Adidas? Their champion.
Yeah, I just kind of heard some rumblings about that. I'm surprised, but I don't know the whole story either. So
right. I just don't see a lot of sanctioned NWA wrestling matches NWA wrestling shows going on. And again, hopefully they could bring the level up to being competitive with Ring of Honor and AEW. Maybe that's in store for them in the near future, or whatever.
We'd love to see it as fans. We with AEW coming onto the scene the last 2 to 3 years. To me, it's provided a little bit of competition, so to speak, with WWE. I mean, WWE is like the machine. They're tough to beat, but having that alternative with AEW has been great for us as fans. Scott, man, we'd love to keep you all day, man. We're running a little bit past our time today. We appreciate your time so much, sir, and we love talking some of the cool wrestling with you and whatnot. We'd love to have you come back and continue with us again sometime.
I'd love to be back, and thank you guys for putting me on your list as wrestling history people to talk about my career in wrestling and boxing. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I would love to be a guest one more time.
Definitely. We appreciate your time.
Sir. We'd love to have you back. Yeah.
Yes. Push the book.
And
there's the book. Go get it, folks. Amazon and other areas. Absolutely.
And free shipping autograph.
Yeah, that's when it was. My life on both sides of the camera. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Scott Romer.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Scott Romer. Yeah, that was good stuff, man. Really appreciate it. Apologies for my camera going in and out. My connection's been in and out. I got a new dog in the house driving me nuts. Combination of things going on over here on my end. So my apologies for cutting it out. But again, thank you to Scott Romer, a longtime photographer in the boxing and in the wrestling business as well. We thank him very much. So, guys, we're going to take a quick break, check in with our sponsors. We got Chic Tweets and other stuff coming on the other side. We'll be right back.
Digits 988 can save a life. If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, 988 provides connection to free confidential support. There is hope. The Lifeline works. For 24/7 confidential support, just call, text, or chat 988.
All right, welcome back, guys. Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Thank you again to Mr. Scott Romer, and apologies again on my end, guys, for cutting in and out. My apologies to Scott as well. I hope he doesn't think I was not listening or being rude. I was listening, but I was kind of preoccupied with some other stuff going on in my new jungle of my home here. And a shout out to while I'm at it here, shout out to Buddy's Second Chance Rescue, where I adopted this dog that's dealing with underneath the table here. He's chewing on a ball right now, as opposed to him chewing on the leg of the table. But yeah, I want to give them a shout out, Buddy Second Chance Rescue. They did a great job with the whole adoption process, and I got a new dog. So far he's a pain in the ass, but it's going well.
That's good.
But anyway, guys, let's we want to definitely check in with the Iron Sheik. Before I forget though, I just want to mention coming up on December 2nd, we got SmackDown coming up here in Buffalo. So make sure you get your tickets and fill the arena and get a lively crowd going for that. So I just wanted to mention that. December 2nd, SmackDown in Buffalo. Tickets still available. Nice. But yeah, go ahead, John. Roll the Sheik tweets there. Our Falls Count Anywhere Sheik tweets of the week. The Sheik always has some interesting things for us to take a look at here. Okay, now they had the Sexiest Man Alive vote, and Chris Evans, who was also Captain America, he was voted as Sexiest Man Alive. Now the Sheik thinks it's bullshit and it was rigged, and they didn't recognize him as number one. What happened there?
Cheeky. Yeah,
that mustache. He should win it every,
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not in that, man. The Sheiky.
He's
great.
Plus his name's
Hussein the Great Arab.
I don't know. Yeah, he's one sexy bald bastard, I'll tell you.
Yeah, right. Let's do more Sheik.
Oh, of course, more Sheik, and of course, more love to the Hulkster. They say that, of course, because Sheik. He doesn't go too long of a period of time where he kind of goes in on the Hulkster here, and WWE asked the question: who has the best shoe game in WWE history? Hey, I got to agree with the Sheik on this one. Nobody had those boots like he did.
Yeah,
nobody had better shoes, Bubba. I mean, even even to this day, I would like to own a pair of those.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Definitely, it's not even close. Not
even
close.
Back in the Maple Leaf Mid-Atlantic area, right, John?
Absolutely, no one's better than that. It was unbelievable. Oh, here comes more.
Oh yeah, now the real bloodbath will happen if I don't get cold beer, Bubba. Now the Iron Sheik is a big fan of the cold beer and not a big fan of the of the jabroni Sprite. As if you follow his Twitter feed, he makes a point of letting you know that if you drink Sprite, you're a jabroni. If you drink the cold beer, then you're the real Bubba. So the real bloodbath, and if he doesn't get his cold beer, so
Yeah.
make sure the Sheik has a cold beer in the holster there.
Wow.
And then this is great right here.
Of course, respect the legend. You know what, guys? If there's anybody that respects the legends, it's us. Featuring the Sheik
Yes.
on our show every week with the Sheik tweets. So we absolutely respect the legend of the Iron Sheik.
Yes, and his world famous career over all the territories and all over and social media to this day. I mean, we'd love to have him on, and I'm trying.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man. At 80 years old, the Sheik's still going strong and still talking trash on social media, which is
Great.
fantastic.
Sure is.
Hell yeah, man. So yeah, we respect the legend, absolutely.
Definitely.
So guys, we of course we also want to our match of the week. Or are we going into clips?
Oh, we'll go to the.
Match
Here, we'll
of the
go to
week.
this.
Okay, yeah. Our Falls Count Anywhere match of the week. Again, I just randomly, we randomly just kind of pluck a Falls Count Anywhere stipulation match. Why not, right? We're the Falls Count Anywhere podcast here in Niagara Falls. This is the Falls Count Anywhere match of the week. This was Randy Orton and Wade Barrett. Now you're probably looking at this like, well, that's not a wrestling ring, right? No. Again, it's Falls Count Anywhere. They ended up in an elevator at some point during this match, beating the crap out of each other. And it was actually, that was the security cam in the elevator. This is Randy Orton chucking some ham and egger out of there. Get out of that damn elevator so you can go beat the crap out of Wade Barrett. Very funny stuff. But there they are going at it there on the security cam. Now, the way this match ended, though, Randy Orton was tossed down a flight of steps. And you never actually, I went back and watched this. You never actually see him getting thrown down the steps. They kind of go to where Wade Barrett's at the top of the steps, almost in just done. And the camera goes down to Randy Orton. We see him laid out. And then at that point, Wade Barrett just leaves the arena completely. So this match ended up in a no decision. Nobody got a pinfall, but Randy Orton got spilled down a pile of steps. And that was from 2011 on SmackDown. So if you get a chance to check that out, that was a fun Falls Count Anywhere match there.
Does Wade Barrett still do anything? What is Wade? What's he do now?
Actually, he was just added to the Raw announce team, the Monday Night Raw announce team.
Oh, nice.
He is now, I forget who the main host is or the main announcer, but he is the the color commentator. And he's doing a good job so far. They brought him back because he did disappear for a little bit. And they brought him back and he's doing a good job.
Yeah, wow.
I could see that, right? That accent's always good. Makes you feel like Lord Alfred Hayes. I like that. It's good.
Yeah, the William Regal type of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, guys, one of the best parts of our show is to crack open the Classic Wrestling Vault here on Falls Count Anywhere podcast, as Chris has a humongous library of wrestling footage that we unleash each and every week here on Falls Count Anywhere. It is the Classic Wrestling Vault. Chris, go ahead and take it away, buddy.
Yes, well, of course, a disclaimer, as John put up at the beginning of our show as well. I do not sell these clips or any of my DVDs for money or profit. I love classic wrestling, been a fan since 1980. It lives and breathes in this house each and every day, as the guys well know. And here's a couple clips for today. In fact, John, let's roll our
Before of the stabbing angle, and I'd like to share them with you and the fans out
here.
So this is the beginning of the stabbing angle.
Yep, there's Scott
The
Romer.
stabbing angle again took this. He was on the Hannibal.
Here's another one.
Yep, he was on the Hannibal TV show there. And that's kind of the only footage I had of him. So
Yeah,
definitely wanted to acknowledge him.
and there's the pictures as he was explaining this during our interview.
Right. What, man, that looked graphic to me.
It was very
So I
interesting stuff. Look at that.
Yeah, kind of like Randy Orton, but different.
Yeah, busted open. Oh, there he was. Talked about blade in his stomach.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
Jeez.
He cut his own. Oh my. And then
Unreal.
all the issues then that goes
Crime,
right to
definite crime
and
scene in
the whole country of Japan is outraged.
Yeah, and then the the mafia. Wow. I mean, here it was like a setup angle, right, in pro wrestling.
Yeah,
but
the
it
whole
turned real.
yeah. Yeah, that was some interesting stuff there. And, it makes me think of maybe to ask Scott this about Dino Bravo, who was involved. I
Oh
don't know if he
yes.
was involved directly with the mafia, but I know he had worked for them at one point, and that's what caused his death, from what I've seen. History there.
Yeah, we'll
Here
have
it
to
is.
save that question for the next time.
And there's the picture. Look at that. He was describing.
Yep, and there he is in the middle.
Yep. Unbelievable. He had an incredible life, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Great for good for. I mean, he had an incredible life when you think about all that he was able to witness and do. Outstanding.
Yes, that's great.
Between
What a
between
great
wrestling
guy.
and boxing, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here comes clip number
Very,
2.
very cool.
Yep, here come classic clips. The Memphis territory. Well, of course, we're fans, but we know John's wife Robin is a big fan of Mr. Jerry the King Lawler, as we
Yep.
see him here briefly taking on a young Harley Race in the late 70s.
Wow.
The King has wrestled, you name it, right?
Absolutely.
Only
Look
one
at
king.
Oh yeah.
Only one king of wrestling, even though Ernie Ladd tried calling himself the king, but
Yeah.
and then King Harley Race, but here there's only one king, and here he is.
There's his crown. There he is.
What a
Right.
career! Love to have him on this show too. There he
I'll
is.
tell you, Jerry
again.
Lawler, when he first showed up on the scene in WWF, I didn't know how to take him at first because I missed Heenan. I always was a Bobby Heenan guy, but man, I'll tell you, Jerry Lawler, he grew on me quick, and then just that attitude era with him and JR, nothing like it, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Here he is against the AWA champion back in the time, 82, 83, Mr. Nick Bockwinkel. And here he is against Flair. That's the famous studio match against Ric Flair in Memphis, 1982.
Yeah, this is great.
The
Oh,
old
look at it.
classic studio wrestling was the best.
Sure was.
And then here we go, Jerry the King winning his first world championship, the AWA championship here in 1988.
Oh, he's
from
convulsing.
somebody we like too, right? Mr. Perfect,
Lord.
Kurt Hennig.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, yeah. That referee in a full suit there. What was going on there?
Yeah. Like the ice cream man.
I don't know the whole.
Like, where was that guy come from? Who were you, count 3, buddy? Let me think that guy was a referee.
Wow.
Wow, the
Jeez.
King wrestled them all. What a career!
Unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I'll say it again. I know I mentioned it last week, but and Scott Romer mentioned it. The Tales from the Territories, man. If you haven't seen the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler documentary from that Tales of the Territories, it's fantastic.
Definitely.
Yeah, love those shows are great.
Here comes
And we
number
have
3,
one-
guys.
One
Oh wow, we have the black and white footage
here
here.
we go, guys.
That's just
That's just the opening here from 1983. You know, what are you gonna do? But
Yeah, there he is.
the classic,
Yeah, well.
a classic,
Look at
a
those
classic
graphics.
territory. Look at that belt. Can you imagine having
Yeah.
that belt? It was just a one piece, and the rest was leather.
I love it.
Southwest Championship
Oh, wow.
Wrestling out of San Antonio, Texas.
Very cool.
And that was one of the hosts there, Mr. Steve Stacks.
Wow.
And then here we're going to see a odd tag team match here, guys. Ivan Putski, his tag team partner there is on the ground, Terry Funk, against
wow.
Tully Blanchard and Gino Hernandez.
Oh, wow. That's an odd combination. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, really.
Oh, here we go. Bang.
Usually when you think Terry Funk, you think like Mick Foley or somebody like that.
Yeah, and that it's a lot of things a lot of people don't know, especially the classic fans out there. Putski was in different territories, world class, Southwest here. Speaking of Nick Bockwinkel, here he is against Manny Fernandez on TV there. It was kind of like a studio. They called it the Junction in San Antonio, Texas. But here was Adrian Adonis against Cowboy Bob
cool.
Orton.
Oh, look at that reverse small package.
Yeah, reversed it, and Adrian Adonis won the belt there that night.
Boy, that's before he got really big, Adrian Adonis.
That was before the adorable Adrian. They're a South Tully Blanchard with the belt there, the Southwest belt.
Oh, there's the belt there. Okay, that's a cool belt. Actually, I like the design on the leather there as well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the black and white leather and just the sentinel they had.
Like a cow.
And then here we have Bruiser Bob Sweetan in the red, and over here a young Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express.
Wow. Jeez. Wow.
Classic territory, classic footage. And you can
very
also
cool stuff
check
as
that
usual,
out
Chris.
on Adam Parsons, speaking of which, has that footage on the Wrestling Legends Network.
Yeah, that belt again, Chris, that was the Southwest Heavyweight Championship?
Yes.
Very cool. That's one I've never seen before. I've never seen that belt. That's very cool. Very good stuff.
Yeah,
Very
well.
All right, gentlemen. Well, of course, we got to, don't mind the blinds behind me here. It's the damn dog. But he's trying to get outside. I don't know what the hell's going on. Anyway, we have our Jobber of the Week. Of course, we want to get to as well this week. And our Jobber of the Week this week, we of course, we always got to scour the internet in different directions to find some of these gentlemen at some points, because, you basically got to find like the superstar that they may have wrestled back in the day. But our Jobber of the Week this week is Mr. Rock Werner. So the not Don the Rock Morocco or Dwayne the Rock Johnson. We're talking about the Rock Werner here. He was the first, maybe the second Rock in WWF history there. But this gentleman had a career record of 0-1-17. And yes, he did have a draw. And of course, I was curious, who did he have a draw against? And when I looked into that, he had a match with Papa Shango. And what happened was Papa Shango just basically put a curse on this poor bastard. He had the blue or black goo dripping from his forehead. So Rock Werner just kind of ran out of the ring before the match even started. So they called it a draw, officially in the record books. So he escaped the defeat that time and was able to maintain a draw there against Papa Shango. And again, he wrestled from 1991 to 1996, Rock Werner. But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny when, and if wrestling fans from back in the 90s will remember, the Ultimate Warrior had a feud with Papa Shango as well, and he had like that black goo coming from his forehead. But that's what happened to the Rock Werner there as well, and he just ran scared out of the arena, and they called it a draw.
That had to have been around 92 then, same time.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, because again, he was 91 to 96, so it's probably right around that time frame. And guys, just a reminder as well, we got the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view coming up. Of course, the main event there is Jon Moxley and MJF. Moxley's, of course, been running with the title since CM Punk has left the company, and it looks like CM Punk will not be coming back to AEW. I believe they're going to be buying out his contract. I just read something today that, and again, internet rumors, sometimes you read things that aren't always true, so take it for what it's worth, but read something this morning that said that CM Punk wanted the locker room to kind of tone things down in the ring, not so much high flying spots, this and that. And the locker room didn't take too well to that. So right off the bat, he was just not in the good graces of the the locker room there at AEW. They weren't really cool with that, him coming in and trying to change things. But anyway, I digress from that. Moxley and MJF are going to be wrestling in that main event. Also, the return of Paige, as you might know her in WWE rather. Saraya, who is now her name in AEW, that is formerly Paige of WWE. She's going to be taking on Dr. Britt Baker at the pay-per-view as well. So a big story there because Paige, of course, Saraya now was not cleared to wrestle, and she made that official announcement last week that she is now cleared to wrestle. So good to see her back and kind of give a boost to the women's division there in AEW. So look forward to that.
Yes, and real quick, before we go here, we'd like to thank and appreciate all our viewers on all our platforms right here on our home, on Facebook, of course, on our YouTube channel. Friends with the Z Media Network has all our shows, not just Falls Count Anywhere, but John's shows and his sports show as well. And that's growing. We're up to 20 subscribers. We appreciate it. Keep it coming. And also on our Twitter is at Count Anywhere on Twitter. That also is growing. Thank you. And also on Spotify as well.
Absolutely. Yep.
Sweet. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second here.
No problem. No problem, Charlie. Yeah, but we're growing. You're right, Chris. Growing every day. The Friends Media Network is getting bigger and better every week. We're adding more shows. We're up to 4. We'll probably have a 5th one soon. So we can entertain you all week.
Yes, we can. That's great.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
This is the guys causing the mischief on today's show.
There he is.
This is my new dog, Cooper. Cooper, thanks for chewing on shit while we're doing the show and completely destroying the interview that I had to do today as he was trying to get outside. So this is the culprit, gentlemen.
We love him. That's good.
We're going to have our own wrestling match. Falls
Yeah.
Count Anywhere in my living room.
Cooper's going to win.
Yeah, he probably will. He probably will.
He will.
He's got sharp teeth.
Yeah, he does.
And youth.
Those puppy
He's got some
teeth,
youth
man.
on his side.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, let's wrap up here. And again, I want to thank you, say thank you again to Mr. Scott Romer for joining us on today's show. And great show as always, guys. Really appreciate the work we put into it throughout the week to produce the show. So it's much appreciated. And again, a happy Veterans Day weekend to all the vets out there. So if you are, get busting out the grill in some nicer weather areas, or even here, when it's 40 degrees, you can still grill. Just remember why you're doing it. Why you had that extra day off is because of the veterans that served our country, and we thank each and every one of them. So, but gentlemen, hey, have a great weekend. Do we have any public service we wanted to put up on the screen there first before we sign off?
Sure, yeah. I got one for us. This is all around the country. 888 in Canada. 888-373-7888. That's the human trafficking hotline. If you think you see something, please call that number. It's very anonymous. It means it isn't like you're filing a report or nothing. It's just anonymous, and they'll check it out. Especially, you never know. It just seems to be running rampant around the country and around North America. So that's the human trafficking hotline, 888-373-7888. One phone call could probably save 20 or 30 lives. So just give it if you see something, say something, and don't worry, they're not going to come get you because it's totally anonymous.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that, John. And gentlemen, again, thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next week here on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, take care.